Nyibo is a village in Anambra State. Nyibo is a land blessed by the gods. The land was productive, filled with all kinds of farm products. The descendants of the land were healthy. The neighboring village preferred to take their goods there to sell in order to make better sales. Nyibo community has beautiful maidens as well. The only issue was they weren't allowed to mingle with the young men of the land. The maiden were to fetch water and firewood before daybreak and return back to their huts. When the day breaks, the young men can go hunting and sell all their products in the market. There was a rule governing the people which everyone had to keep. There are days for the maidens to go to the market. During the days for the maidens to go to the market, the men were not allowed to go. Likewise, the days for the men market. This affected the maidens greatly because they couldn't get married easily. They felt they were hidden and no man would be able to admire their beauty. But they were too afraid to go against the rules of the land. One fateful day, Adanne, a pretty maiden, went out to buy food from the market during the day for the men. She wanted to know how the market looks and admire the men her eyes could capture, so she disguised herself as a man and went to the market. On her way coming back from the market, the ribbon she used to tie her hair loosened and her beautiful hair pulled. She was so afraid because she heard voices of men coming, so she quickly hid herself inside the bush. While she was there, she quickly packed her hair. While she was waiting for the men to pass, her eyes captured a handsome man. She smiled at him, packed her bag and quickly ran home. Getting home, her mother warned her, "If you are caught, you will be banned from the village." Adanne couldn't get her mind off the handsome man she saw. Her face was just filled with smiles. When her sister saw her, she quickly asked, "Why are you so excited?" She responded saying nothing. She couldn't wait for the next men's market to come. It was another day for the men's market and she dressed as a man and set off to the market. On her way to the market, she saw the handsome man and they exchanged pleasantries. The moment Prince Ikenna shook her hands, he knew her hands were so soft to be a man's hand. So he pulled her to the side and asked her what she was doing. Adanne, trying to pretend not to know what she was talking about, Prince Ikenna quickly told her, "I know you're not a man." She closed his mouth with her hands and pleaded with him not to shout. But he responded saying, "I am the prince of this land and you can't tell me what to do." She pleaded with him not to tell his father and cried, "We had nothing to eat in my home and we don't have a son to come to the market today." So he agreed not to tell his father. She raised her head, looked at him and smiled and said, "Thank you." That was when Ikenna's eye caught her beautiful eyes and he was lost for a moment because of her beauty. He asked her name and they began talking. "My name is Adanne," she replied. "I am Prince Ikenna." "You have such a beautiful name," she said. Prince Ikenna walked her home and they bidded each other goodbye. This was how Adanne and Prince Ikenna got fond of each other and they always looked for a way to see one another. They were so in love with one another. They enjoyed each other's company. They always talked about their life after marriage and how their family was going to be great. Not long after, Adanne found out she was pregnant and quickly told Prince Ikenna, who promised her he was going to come for her hand in marriage. Then she told Amara, who she pleaded with not to tell her parents, that the person responsible will come for her hands in marriage soon. "Can this be our little secret?" she asked. On the other hand, Prince Ikenna tried convincing his parents to allow him get married, but he was told he had to wait for his elder brother to get married first. He was also told that whoever he was to marry must be from a royal family or from the king's cabinet. He knew there was no time, as Prince Adan wasn't ready yet, so he and Adanne planned to run away from the village so they could get married elsewhere and return when they could. The plan was made. Arrangements on who would pick her up in the neighborhood community was also made. The day to run away had come. Adanne and Amara set out to the border. As they were about to cross over, they were caught by the village vigilante. Amara ran for her dear life, but Adanne could not run fast due to her condition. She was caught up and taken to the palace prison. While Adanne was in the palace prison, Ikenna came to visit her always and promised her that he was going to look for a way out. "Please stay strong, don't give up. I will talk to my father," he said. He always took food and water to her so she can be strong for their unborn baby. One day, when Ikenna was visiting Adanne in the prison, King Nnamdi was going for a walk and was shocked to see his second son talking to the prisoner. He immediately suspected Prince Ikenna was the father of the child because Ikenna wasn't one to relate with other people unless he knows you, but pretended that he didn't see anything. Not until news got to Adanne's parents that she was held captive by the king, they rushed to the palace to plead for mercies for their daughter, but the king ignored them, saying, "Your daughter has broken the rules of the land." Some days later, the king sent Prince Ikenna on an assignment so that he can execute his plans. At night, Adanne was to be buried alive in front of her parents. When she was brought out of the prison, she looked for her own love, Prince Ikenna, but couldn't see him. She felt Prince Ikenna had abandoned her. She cried bitterly. She was asked to enter where was dug for her. She entered it, but before her face was covered with sand, she cried and said, "May the king and his generations never hear the cry of a baby in their home." But people who were there laughed at her and said, "You can't curse the king, the great ruler of our land." She was covered with sand and everyone left, but her mother remained there and cried bitterly, saying, "My child, why did you choose to hurt me?" The next day, Prince Ikenna came back from his assignment and went to the prison to look for Adanne, but couldn't find her. He asked the guards on duty. They told him she was buried alive yesterday. There and then, he collected the knife of the guard and slit his throat. His father, the king, came out upon hearing his son and returned from his assignment just to find him dead by the prison side. The king was furious and asked the guard why he allowed that to happen. You could have stopped him. Years passed and king's first son, Prince Ikenna, got married. After 3 years of marriage, there was no cry of baby heard in his home, so the queen quickly suggested for Adan to take a second wife, which he did, but there was no birth still. They had to invite the herbalist of the land, who told them that there wouldn't be a child in the palace until Adanne was appeased. The king refused to beg his subject, but the pressure he got from the queen and Prince Ikenna made him do so. But still, there wasn't any baby after a year of numerous sacrifices. They gave up and the herbalist was invited again to know why the baby was yet to come. He told them not to worry, that the baby will come. After the king begs for the forgiveness of his second son, Prince Ikenna, a month later, both wives of Prince Ikenna took in and gave birth to bouncing baby boys. Lesson: rigidity isn't the way to be a good leader. A good leader must have his people at heart and should be compassionate. Also, abiding by rules is best. If Adanne had obeyed, she would still be alive.
Please like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on the notification bell to get more interesting stories like this.